Victor, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And I just wanted to thank you because the spirit of the podcast is to have, people on who don't necessarily have a voice in the industry, who don't make it to, say, the award shows or the interviews or what have you. But I made an exception for you because, you're a vet all around as far as like podcasts and TED Talks and live streams and whatnot. You're such a joy to talk to, and you're such an and you're such an advocate for visual effects, the visual effects community, our voice in the community, and so thank you so much for being here. It's an honor, and you've
Pleasure
saved me.
is mine.
And you've saved me on at least one project, which we won't talk about.
Yeah, it's true. We work together.
Yeah. Briefly, but it was important. So why don't can you tell us a bit about yourself and what you do in the industry?
Okay. So I'm a visual effects supervisor, but most people know me for my work of compositing because I've been advocating for Nuke, the compositing side of things, and also reivindicating that compositors are artists, not just operators and all of that. So the truth is I love everything that has lights and buttons. So basically I like technology applied to storytelling, and I'm just trying my best just to do something that is fun. So yeah, that is my title. That my job title is having fun with technology, more or less. I'm getting paid for that.
Well, that sounds amazing. I mean, I guess we all kind of do that in the visual effects industry, but you in particular, you've written a literal book about the color pipeline. And, I'm not even going to pretend to try to talk about it because you're the expert. But do you want to talk a bit about that?
Well, in principle, what I can say is that I'm very curious about so many things. You said that I am an expert, but actually I don't consider myself an expert. What I am doing is just, I'm quite old, I will say, in the industry because I have been around like 30 years. So I have been accumulating experience. So what I'm doing is just sharing that with other people. And with the case of this book, for instance, was quite fun because it was like in the beginning of the interest for color management. I received many people inquiring me about, hey, can you just do a session with me for teaching me about color management, and then someone else, and then someone else. And then during COVID, Netflix asked me, hey, can you just do something for color management because a lot of people need. And I found like, I can write a book about that. And then I thought like, oh, actually, I'm going to write a book because it was during COVID, so I had nothing else to do in that period of the lockdown. So I just started just putting together my notes and the things that I was collecting. And I have this thing that I'm not a color scientist. I'm not going to pretend I am. I respect these people so much. But the thing is like, I'm an artist. So I know what other artists are struggling in case of color management. So what I was doing is just like researching, putting together the thoughts, putting together some sort of theory and then a practical side so people can just access to without being a scientist, but understanding what we are talking about. So that is my thing is just sometimes I'm just curious about things and I have the ability just to transfer that chain of thoughts or that theory or whatever to other people. And I find so much joy in sharing. That is the main reason we are artists foremost, because you want to share, to learn, to discover your own points of view through the point of view of other people. So I think, yeah, the more I'm going forward in life, the more I understand that this is all about sharing with others and just respecting each other. And that is why it's so disheartening just to see the trend that is right now, especially with filmmakers, even with filmmakers with a certain level of experience, just saying things like, we didn't use CGI, we did everything in camera. So it's like, why? Why is that?
Why?
It's like, are you less of a filmmaker just because you use less CGI or because you don't use CGI? So I don't know, this puzzles me. So that is why is I have this need for sharing, for transparency, I love the thing that people consider us like magicians. That is something that they say about me. Oh, you are the magician of visual effects. And no, I'm not a magician. I'm just using technology and science and art just to create things, but I'm no magician. So this thing make me reflect a lot about how they see us. It's like we are doing tricks and we are just hiding the art. And I think that is at the same time is kind of beautiful, because when we work so well, those filmmakers can afford to say that they have no CGI, because the CGI is so seamless integrated with reality that even the people making the movie cannot acknowledge that. But there is a but in here. It's like, that is CGI. So you are actually being dishonest with your audience, telling them that you didn't use CGI, as if using CGI was a penalization. So for me, I'm not offended by them when they say, I didn't use CGI, and I know I was doing because I have been in one of those projects, and I have been using CGI. It's kind of tender that they are like, oh, we didn't use CGI, and thanks for the compliment, but why are you lying to the people that is paying the tickets to watch your movie? That is dishonest. Don't be dishonest with your people, because they are paying the tickets. So out of offense, I prefer just to be transparent with other people and just say, yeah, we are the collective of visual effects. Sometimes can get so good that the filmmakers can afford to say that about them, but that is, in a certain sense, is an insult for all the people that is doing a lot of beautiful work in there.
Yeah, and it's art also. So it was interesting. I was listening to, do you know that there's a podcast called The Town? It's mostly, Hollywood filmmaking. I know you're more, European, but you have the whole world in your hands. I know visual effects because you've been everywhere. Chloe Zhao was on there the other day, and she was talking about, how she extended one of her main sets in CG, and, she didn't think anything of it. And then she goes on to say that filmmaking is a sacred art. So I don't know what she said in other interviews, because I haven't, this is the only interview I've seen of hers or listened to. I was driving, so I was listening to it. But she didn't say, oh no, this is a sacred art, we don't do CGI. She said, this is a sacred art, meaning film, and we also use CGI, just like any other department would be involved. So I just love that. She didn't draw attention to it, just mentioned it, just like she would mention the costumes or the set design. And I just loved it so much. I loved listening to her speak, because it seemed like it came from a place of wisdom and understanding. And I find that wisdom and understanding for the greater filmmaking team, which includes all of us, the visual effects people, she just encompassed it all in a single, 20-minute podcast. Yep. So I love that about her. I mean, I'm a new fan.
I respect that. And I respect even, Lars von Trier, for instance, when he was filming Dogville. He was doing drawings on the floor, and it was filmed like a very theatrical experience. So it was like theater. It was like he didn't want to have set design, but that was an artistic choice. So he was not priding himself or, oh, I can make a movie without set design. No, it was, I designed the movie to be like that, and that was at the purpose of the story. By the way, guys, if you haven't watched the movie, Dogville is beautiful with Nicole Kidman, and it's I was moved to tears. Even if the film is just revealing in itself that is not trying even to recreate reality, but that is the beauty of storytelling. When it's well done, any element that is on the stage or in front of the camera can tell the story. So there are directors that have the skill to use everything that is all the arts. For instance, Steven Spielberg is the master of using everything. I'm not going to say just visual effects, because of course he's the master of visual effects, but costume, camera, everything. He understands the medium, and he's someone that he doesn't need to say, oh, we didn't use visual effects to sell tickets. Why? Because he's Steven Spielberg. So it's a pity that other directors have to use to renounce to, and I don't mean for visual effects, it's just for anyone, because even when they say, no, the actors are doing all the stunts. So, and so what? If the actor can do it, good. I mean, Jackie Chan, of course, you don't need a stunt because he's a stunt. But is the movie better just because you are not using a certain artistry? I don't think so. At the end of the day, as an audience, I just care about what is on the screen. And I don't care how you do it. And I just want you to move me, to tell me something. I want to get out of the theater that I am a different person. But to do that, there are very few artists that can do that. So others are just selling tickets, and now is the trend, and I think it's all based in nostalgia, because of course Star Wars in the beginning, it was very little CGI, of course, because it was optical. So, because they couldn't do that. And I remember George Lucas was actually just complaining about the Star Wars because he couldn't envision the film as he was visioning. I mean, he couldn't make the film as he envisioned it because of the limitations of the time. So it could be just ridiculous just to say, oh no, we choose not to use CGI in the first Star Wars. Of course, it wasn't invented yet. So this is the thing. It's just a very silly. I don't get upset when they say something like that, because they are just demonstrating their ignorance and their insecurities as artists. That is part of artists as insecurities is something that comes to everybody. But the problem is when those opinions are now follow us like, oh, Bible is like, visual effects are ruining movies. Well, there are movies that are ruined before visual effects are even in there. So that is the thing.
I mean, there are also, cheesy dramas that we see, especially around Christmas time. And, they have really low visual effects, shot count, and what's ruining them? What are you going to blame? But I guess that's entertainment versus art or whatever. But visual effects, I've said this so many times in the past, especially the past year or so. But visual effects artists are artists. That's the hint is in the name. They're artists. We are artists. All of us. I mean, I'm mostly producing, but I also supervise and of course I do my own writing on the side. So I would say holistically I'm an artist, but from a visual effects perspective, or in the visual effects arena, I think we're all artists. Like even down to, say, the office, people, the support people, the coordinators. I mean, all of us are there to make just a beautiful film or television series.
And I don't consider producers are less artists than other people working on the visual effects department, because very well because you are a producer, but there is an art in producing something in order for people to get what they need at the time you need. And I believe producers are really the unsung heroes of the visual effects. So it's like the renegades of the renegade group, because production is so unfair, because when it's working well, nobody notices production. It's exactly like visual effects. When they are well done, nobody notices the visual effects. But within the visual effects, when the production is well done, artists just work like so easily, and you have everything, and everything flows. Of course, as I said before, I have a bit of experience. So I have been in shows where the production works very well, and in others where you are just dragging yourself in the mud, just trying to get to because the production is just overwhelmed, or maybe something happened. So absolutely, I don't agree. Producers are also artists for me. Everybody that is doing this is in a different kind of art.
I'm going to send you flowers. Just make sure to, email me your address. Okay, speaking of your address and, just, parking work for a second.
Yeah.
Where are you at these days? Because are you in Rome? Are you in England? Like, I don't know. Where are you these days?
Well, actually, I moved a couple of years ago. I moved back to London because I was living in Italy initially it was just for a short period, because I moved back to Italy because I wanted to have a holiday. And then when I was in my holiday, they called me to supervise a superhero movie, but with an author style. It was with Gabriele Salvatore, which is now is a very good friend of mine. And he's like he won an Oscar, and he's like a very drama-based director, but he's super curious about technology and visual effects. So when they called me, because the project was really complex, and they knew, because I have friends in there, that I was living very near Rome, they say, "Oh, can you just come and just give us a hand with this?" And that conversation ended with me working 2 years as the supervisor of the film, and I won the Academy Award in Italy for that. Is the Invisible Boy Second Generation. The Davide Donatello. I started in there, and after that project, I started getting other projects and other projects. And I was living in Italy. I studied in Italy many years ago, so I really love the country. Come on. So it's really cool.
How can you not love Italy, right?
Oh, yeah, but it's like a dream living in there. But for work in visual effects, I have to say that my preparation is more oriented towards bigger movies. And yeah, Gabriel Salvatore has the ability just to put together a budget and something. And I even collaborated with him in other projects. But it was really difficult for me to be there and to be working in London. So I started feeling at a certain point that I was in the land of nowhere, because I was not in Rome, because I was not investing into getting projects in there, because I was not interested. But at the same time, it was really difficult to hook projects in the UK while I was living in there. So I just decided, okay, I'm going to move back to London, and I just want to keep working on the projects that I like. And then COVID happened. Boom. So it was like, okay, maybe this is not the right time to move to London. So I stayed there even for longer until after COVID and all of that. I was getting so accommodated because I have a house in the countryside. So I was like, oh my God, life here is so cool. But that is something that as an artist, you have to fight. Is the comfort zone, because it's really easy just to get accommodated in your comfort zone. Especially, right now we are living in scary times, and the thing of AI is just kicking everybody out of the comfort zone. But I think, as an artist, especially as a visual effects artist, because we deal with technology. And by the time we decided to work in visual effects, we just made a pact with the devil just to say, okay, we are going to depend on technology. That means that we are going in cycles. And right now we are in the end of the cycle. And it's scary because we have been through a lot in the past years. The strikes, the collapse of the system, of the big companies, the COVID. So yeah, we have been through a lot. So I think we just need a hack. But instead of getting a hack, we are getting a revolution technology with AI. And it's like, So
instead of getting a hug, we're getting the revolutionary technology of AI, and simultaneously being told in the public sphere that we don't exist and that we don't matter.
Oh, yeah. So we are struggling, and we are just dragging ourselves, and still something that I really admire. Because in all of that, I know that many people get upset with other filmmakers not acknowledging our work and all of that, and they are completely right. But nonetheless, they keep striving for excellence. So nobody is just saying, oh, because you are bad to me, I'm not going to do good. Everybody is just, they love so much their craft that is way above the background noise of these people. We are talking about very high level directors, but everybody in the visual effects industry is way above that noise, because it's, at the end of the day, it's just noise. And I'm really grateful. And as a supervisor, my value is just relying on all the artists that are working with me for the project. So I really admire all of that. And everybody that is, it's one of those industries that people is moving from their countries, just leaving everything behind, just to move to a place because they want to make their dream come true. And then you have like filmmakers saying that they don't exist, or if they exist, they are losers, as one of the actors said famously in Venice a few months ago. And nonetheless, they keep striving for that. So just simple for this gesture, they deserve, for me, the maximum respect. So yeah, you can be a very high director, I'm a very uneducated person. I'm a very ignorant individual. So yeah, it can be together. Great directors don't need to disregard any other craft in order to fit better. That is mediocrity. When someone is good, they strive to go up. When someone is mediocre, they strive just to bring others down so they can stand up. So that is why when filmmakers or actors or whoever is just doing the comments are just trying to diminish the work of anybody else just for them to stand, is pity. It's just shame. So what I feel for them.
Because of all of these things happening kind of all at once, COVID, the strikes, the AI revolution, and the simultaneous, putting down of the visual effects folks. We're in a bit of a mental health crisis right now. I've spoken to so many people, not just on the podcast, but just like as you do as well, of course. We know a lot of people in the industry over working in this industry for so many years, and people are struggling. Some people are struggling a lot. And, that's a real thing, and it's a real issue, and there's not a lot of support out there for people. And I think the coming together, which is what you mentioned earlier, the hug, the coming together and the being together and the collective support that we can all offer each other is quite frankly invaluable, and it's never been more necessary. And that's why I started the podcast also, because I just didn't know what else to do, quite frankly.
Yeah.
I'm not a mental health professional. I'm just a regular person. I was going to say I'm a nobody, but nobody's a nobody. I'm just a regular person. And I just wanted to talk to people and let everyone know that we're all kind of feeling the same way, and we don't need to feel that way.
Well, you know what? Just by doing that, you are doing something. And if everybody is just doing something, we can do a lot. So This is the important thing, is like, if we see ourselves as just individuals, like as you said, like a Freudian lapsus in there, like, oh, I'm nobody. Absolutely not. You are an individual and you have your limitations like everybody else. But you are doing what you can do, and you are putting your voice together. You are just bringing people and just saying like, hey, we need a hack. So yeah, maybe this is going to inspire someone else, or maybe someone else is going to be watching and is going to feel not so alone. So it is important. So that's why I invite everybody just to do something, because the worst thing that you can do when you are mentally challenged is doing nothing, because you are entering in a loop of darkness. So even you are an artist, try to create something. In my case, I'm not saying that this is going to make things easier, but it's the only thing you can do. In my case, I started working as an actor, as a professional actor. I was working in movies, and I was working mostly in theater, and I was
that doesn't surprise me. Sorry to cut you off, but that doesn't surprise me.
So I was really living off of just acting. That teach me a lot about patience and about self-confidence. When you are an actor, and that's why I admire actors, and I mean any kind of actor, people that just want to devote themselves to that. And it's just sometimes you are judged not on how good you are, but just on your aspect, something that I really couldn't stand of that job. That's why I quit, because I want to be able to do anything to create worlds. So that's why visual effects for me is more effective in that way. But when you are an actor, you learn to be patient, to wait, to do something else, to reinvent yourself, because you need to keep yourself alive. Recently, a very good friend of mine, Maria Ruiz, who is, by the way, the actress of both my short films. We are very, very good friends, and we met in the set of Antonio Banderas' second film as a director. We became very good friends. She's an actress and like a hardcore actress. She's Spanish. She has been working in Spain for many, many years. Serious. She's quite famous. But at a certain point, she got like a winter of calls. It's like nobody's just calling you. And I remember I started writing when I was doing my short films and I wanted to write more. And I was struggling with a script. And she told me like, you are thinking too much. You just need to write. Stop thinking and write. And then I told her, it's so easy to say that, but I am a sensitive artist. And then she said, no, it's just about writing, and sooner or later you're going to make it because it's all about practice. Don't think about that as a masterpiece or something. It's just practice. Well, guess what? Now she's a director and is writing and is co-writing and is writing also for Antonio Banderas musicals and all of that. She's now super successful as a screenwriter, and now she's directing, and she's going to start directing the first series with a lot of visual effects that I'm going to be the supervisor for her. And
Wow.
and this is like, I mean, I really admire her because
Wow.
this ability just to tenaciously, just to keep believing in yourself and just working for yourself.
And
Of
not
course,
give
you have
up, right? Not
exactly.
give up.
You have to pay your bills, so that's why she was doing other jobs and all of that. But if you are an artist, you need to find your way. You need to find little joy in that, because at the end of the day, we're working in an industry, and this is just going on waves. Things are going to change. I don't think AI is going to replace artists, it's going to replace operators, but that's why I'm very confident. I don't feel menace at all on AI. But it's really difficult right now because we have been battered really hard in the last year. So it's just keeping hope is difficult. And I always say this, and I mean it. If someone has something and I can do something, drop me a line on LinkedIn, send me an email, even if you just want to talk or whatever, or just to tell me life is shit. And I'm going to say, yeah, life is shit. Let's have a beer. So it's going to be shit with beer. That is always better. So I don't know, something like that. We are here to, that's why when you ask me, hey, you want to be in my podcast? Of course I want to be in there. I love just to tell, and this is like a very intimate conversation that of course we are streaming with other people, but this is all about two people just, talking about who we are at the end of the day.
Yeah, and sharing ideas. And I mean, you alluded a little bit to your hobbies. Well, not hobby, because writing seems like more of a lifelong passion for you, writing and directing. But do you have any other hobbies like that are not in the film industry that keep your brain kind of
Yeah,
going?
I have one that is kind of fun. I am a pilot. I am a trained pilot. So
Like an actual pilot where you go up and fly a plane?
Yeah. And I fly.
Victor.
So that is something. And the reason of course, I always wanted to be a pilot because I mean, it's like a childhood dream for many, many people. But what I love the most now when I am on the air is when you are focusing on piloting, is like there is no space left in my brain to think about anything else, because you need to keep the safety, the navigation, the communications, the everything in there, and you have the responsibility not just of your life but also the people that is flying with you. So for me, this thing is something like a mantra. It's like when I'm flying, I don't care about AI. I don't care about the status of the industry. I just care about keeping the plane in the right path and landing safely. And that is something that teach me that sometimes it's just good to have a break of myself, because it's so boring being myself sometimes, because it's like, oh, my problems, oh, my bills, oh, my thing. So sometimes find something that keeps you focused on something else, because then when I release all of that adrenaline after flying, and then I just go back to my normal life, it's like having a break. It's like, okay, let's look at the problems in a different. And so I can share something with you that a couple of years ago, I was flying, and the weather conditions just were like really, really, really bad. So, and I was flying over mountains, and I was like, the plane was moving like crazy. It was safe. I was flying along, and I was like, oh my God. And I was super stressed. And then there was like really, really stressful conditions. I landed safely and all of that. So after that, my feeling was like, when you get back to your life, it's like, oh, there are things that actually are way worse than this. I could die in there. So I'm not inviting anybody just to do dangerous things. So please don't do it. But the thing is like, get something that gets your adrenaline high. Do something. I don't know. You don't need just to, I mean, hiking, just go visit places, just talk to other people. Do something meaningful, something that is not related to the same path of problems, because sometimes just taking distance from yourself is just going to give you perspective, and maybe you are going to understand that yeah, there are things that are more important, even if everybody has bills but there is more than that. So nothing is just black and white, and we are here together, so we should try to be closer to each other. That's why it's so disheartening when I'm going to the social media and I
Oh,
see so much hostility, even
no.
in something like LinkedIn. Because when
Yeah.
I started publishing that I am researching on AI, oh my God, I got so much criticism. Just like, oh, so you are one of these. Oh, AI is not art. And yeah, I can argue that there is truth in there. But the thing is like, guys, let's chill out. Because
Yeah.
if we talk, maybe we can find a common ground. We can all grow. But I have been insulted publicly, like
Oh.
openly. And it's like, okay, so why?
Now is not the time for that, to
So
insult each other, you
yeah,
know?
so that is what I mean. Is like maybe what we need first and foremost is a bit of compassion. Compassion, self-compassion, first of all, with ourselves, but also with others, because we don't know what the others are feeling in that moment. And I don't want to be the trigger for someone just to have a crisis. By contrary, I just want to share. I just want to help. I just want to learn. Because the most interesting thing from the social media, I mean, from LinkedIn, is just sometimes I'm just doing posting like my views is like for others to challenge me, to change my way. And that is something that I find interesting. But instead, other people that I guess is just because life is being very hard to these people. It's just like getting so much stress in there. So this is what I mean. Is like we all should just step back a bit, take ourselves and hug and just take care of ourselves as if we were children. So be more self-compassionate with all
Yeah.
of that. So that is what I mean. And that's why I'm not getting that upset with the people that is even very angry at me. It's just like I understand that, well, you have been treated really badly for behaving like that. So is there anything I can do for you for this? So yeah, it's difficult sometimes, but it is what
It's
it
like I
is.
always say, when, we used to live right beside the hospital. We don't live there anymore, but there's a hospital, close by. And when we drive by it, I try to be extra compassionate and drive as slow as possible, because you don't know what people are going through that are like looking for parking. Maybe they have a sick child or a sick parent, or they're doing their cancer checkup, or like God knows what they're doing. God knows why they're circling around the hospital like that.
Yeah.
So we used to live there, and we lived there literally, three houses away, right across the street during the COVID times. And it was just so strange. And, I had three little kids in a small apartment, and just, we would just kind of stand outside and watch, just watch the day unfold, basically. Like you said earlier, there wasn't a lot else to do. And, again, getting the kids out of the house was the main priority. So, but all of this is to say, like, we saw a lot of people. We saw people coming in, people scared to come in. A lot of it was just like a dead zone with like nobody. It was just tumbleweeds for a long time. And it was such a confusing time. Anyway, I digress a bit, but all of this is to say that, just to go back to what you were saying, when people are commenting online and they're so angry and so upset, it's coming from a place of trauma, or whatever happened to them, or whatever they did, or whatever happened to bring them to that point, to bring them to that comment. And it's important in those moments to have compassion,
Yeah.
because just like someone circling the hospital, like you just don't know why they're there and you don't know why. And you can't put yourself in their shoes unless you know a little bit more about them. So I'm not saying people should hate online just because they're in a bad mood or they're having, problems or whatever. Try not to do that, obviously, because that makes all of us upset. It raises the cortisol levels of all of us. And we don't need that right now. We need to come together. So, but yeah, compassion is definitely in order. Do you have any other human stories to share? Something, because again, we're trying to convince, somehow we found ourselves in a place where we're trying to convince others that we're human beings. Never thought I'd have to do that, but here we are. Do you have any human stories from, your childhood or your past or anything
Well,
interesting?
I can say that from my childhood, for instance, my 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 parents were not rich. We were fairly modest, and we were living in the countryside.
In Spain,
in,
right?
in, in
Or
Spain, in the
yeah,
south of the Spain.
yeah.
And I remember my dad was working like really crazy in order for me to, and he was always like, study, study. I want you to have the opportunities and all of that. So I was always with this thing of studying. And and I for somehow remember my brother at the same time was taking me because my brother loved cinema. When he was taking me to the cinema, he was taking me to the movies, and every time he was like sharing how the movies were done while we were watching the movie. So basically, he was like ruining the movies for me just by telling me. So I associated that for those two men that are the men that have shaped me as a person, my dad and my brother that was a photographer. Um, this thing came together that my dad took me to the cinema once, only once, and he took me to watch Batman from Tim Burton. And maybe that thing remained in my head like, I want to work on a Batman movie. I want to work on a Batman movie. And then when I came to London and I worked, one of the first things that I did when I came, well, it was the third or the fourth film that I worked was actually The Dark Knight Rises. So the joy, the real joy that I found working on a Batman movie, it was beautiful because my brother told me about the photography. He was teaching me. I mean, my brother was really crazy. When I was 8, he was teaching me how to develop film. I mean, like film rolls using the
Wow.
acids and all of that. My mom was completely horrified of all of that
Yes.
because I was in that dark room using acids. And oh my God. So he was so passionate about sharing that with me and teaching me. And that was his way of learning. And so he was teaching me how to do the things he loved. My dad was always telling me, "Hey, try to be the best, try to be better, try to improve." And that fingerprint of love is what made me really love this industry. And so for me, the Batman movie is a movie that really was a benchmark in my career. So when I hear the director, Christopher Nolan, that is the director that I was working, and I was working on Batman, just to be clear, as a compositor. Um, when I hear now Christopher Nolan saying like all of that, like, no, 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 visual effects is one of these trends. And for him, it's like stylistic, the thing of, I'm not going to use visual effects. So in a certain sense, I agree with his vision. He wants to achieve everything without visual effects, or let's be precise, without CGI, because he was using compositing. But the thing is like, okay, you can choose that. But then when that becomes a trend that is just augmenting in itself, like, oh, no, 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 we didn't use visual effects, or it's like, why? Why why are you doing this to me? Because seriously, I felt really betrayed. So my heart is with everybody in the industry that has been hurt by this trend, because I know it hurts. It hurts a lot. Um,
And you know what's strange is they gave him, I forget what the award's called, the VES award. They gave Christopher
Yeah,
Nolan a VES award.
yeah.
And he goes, wow, and I didn't watch his speech, but someone paraphrased it for me. And he was basically like, well, it's very strange that you chose me. Thank you for the award, but I'm always telling people that I don't need you guys or, whatever. I'm just paraphrasing. So, I mean, he acknowledges it at least.
Yeah, so the thing is like, I can understand because I mean, when he was doing Oppenheimer, that is like the Magnus opera of his, but he got the Oscar and all of that. I'm going to be very honest with that. I love the movie. The movie is really amazing. The visuals, all of them are amazing. But and this is just my opinion, it's a film where the center is the atomic bomb. It's all about the atomic bomb. Well, for me, the atomic bomb, the Trinity test that they do in the middle of the film where the bomb explodes, for me was feeling weak. And just to be clear, not because of the visual effects. So the visual effects were very well done. The thing is like the choice, because he wants to be like very raw, very realistic, very. But the explosion of the atomic bomb felt like a big explosion, but not like atomic bomb. And
Yeah,
I
not
can say
nuclear.
I
Yeah.
can see this because I was uh, last week. Last week, literally, I was in Hiroshima, in Japan, and I was at the museum, of the Peace Museum, and I was seeing, the photographs of the bomb and all of that. And the the feeling, and I have like goosebumps right now, the feeling of immense destroying power of the bomb, I wasn't feeling that. Very similar. I can say that in The Creator, a movie that was released a few months before, in The Creator, there are like several atomic explosions that were feeling the scale. And of course, is the difference between Gareth Edwards and Christopher Nolan. And I'm not going to say one better or the other. It's not my point, and it makes no sense. But the thing is like, for someone that like Christopher Nolan that has that very good eye for what is raw, what is just renegating of the ability of giving double negative that are like one of the best companies in the world doing simulations and this kind of explosion. They could have done a superb work. I mean, they demonstrated very well that maybe Oppenheimer was like the Magnus opera that he got the Oscar, but for me, the most beautiful thing is Interstellar. And in Interstellar, Paul Franklin was able to visualize a black hole that then later the NASA verified that it was the same and the Tesseract and all of. So it was all visual effects and it was a super beautiful
And it
work.
was beautiful.
So
Beautiful.
so then Oppenheimer, for me, the thing about the atomic bomb, of course, is about the Oppenheimer, the figure, but the figure of Oppenheimer is completely linked to the atomic bomb. So he loses a lot of emotional power just because he said, no, 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 we are going to use real fire because, okay. Well, I was thinking before, like, I'm completely sure this guy has been talking to the army in the US just to say, can I use an atomic bomb just for my film? Because I will see that. So it was like kind of cheap. And again, I'm not talking about execution of visual effects. It's just the choice of not using CGI for the simulation.
Yeah, well, because I mean, that is why visual effects was born, was to not replace anything, but to make everything more fantastic and do things that are unsafe to do in real life, like an atomic bomb, for instance, or, jumping off a building, or, all of these cool things that used to look pretty pretty fake with forced perspective and things like that, and now with visual effects it's seamless, or it should be if it's done well, which it usually, often is. I won't say usually. Sometimes, we've all seen bad compositing, but I blame, budgets and timelines and
Yeah,
everything
yeah,
else for that.
yeah.
But all of this is to say is that we have, I think, added such beauty and such scope to filmmaking, to the art of filmmaking, and I'm just so thankful for that, and for everyone involved, because That's why we have visual effects, so that we can do something like an atomic bomb instead of exploding something that is clearly not an atomic bomb. Might as well just make it look like an atomic
Yeah.
bomb with visual effects, because that's the story.
Yeah.
So, you don't want to get in a position where you're hurting your story.
Yeah.
Not that anyone's accused Nolan of this at all, but
Yeah.
not that I am, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying in general, you would not want to hurt your own story by not telling it efficiently when you could have this beautiful tool called
Yeah.
visual effects
Yeah.
to make it so.
Yeah. And if I was an ignorant, I could say, oh, double negative don't know how to do atomic bombs because
Oh no, they know.
because
They know.
so of course they know, they are one of the best in the world. So why don't allow your artists to be artists, just to collaborate with the story, just to add? Because being digital artists or visual effects artists or CGI, it doesn't mean that you are less of an artist. So that is what I would love. Maybe one day Chris Nolan is just going to settle with the thing of the CGI, and is just going to get back to the origins of something like the Batman movies that are really good, or Interstellar, and stop being afraid of being classified of a secondary director just because, oh, we are using CGI. Long live to Steven Spielberg. I love him so much.
Well, and James Cameron also. I mean, there's some visual effects in Avatar. There's a few.
Oh yeah, yeah, quite a couple, I think. Yeah, so
you can't deny that. You cannot deny that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, we'll probably wrap up here in a minute. But is there anything else? Anything that you would like to share? Or
yes, I want to thank you. Thank you for doing this. Not thank you for just for having me, but for having everybody, for giving voice. I mean, I don't need much voice because I have been all around. I mean, I'm even tired of hearing myself. But it is really good that someone like you give voice to other people, and it's important to everybody to listen to each other, because we just need to humanize everybody. Maybe if we consider ourselves, first of all, humans, and we try to help each other, maybe together we can go and say, hey, guys, please respect us. But if we don't respect ourselves, it is really difficult. So, apes together strong, as the as the movie says.
No visual effects in that one either.
Yeah, of course.
Well, where do people find you? You mentioned LinkedIn, and you have a website, I think, right?
Yeah, well, if you want, my links are very easy. victorperez.online. And you have all my links in there, so you can just see the things. Or if not, yes, you can find me everywhere. So yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Victor. And yeah, we'll hopefully have another lively discussion again soon.
Okay. And hopefully it's just to say, oh, it's going too well now.
Everything's boring. It's
Everything
just all
is
perfect.
boring. Yeah, everybody is just going so well. So yeah, hopefully very soon. Thank you very much for having me.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.